Robin är en man, propert klädd i svart kostym, vit skjorta. Han har lite rufsigt mörkt hår, bred käke, 40-årsåldern. Han blir ledd upp av en kvinna i randig tröja fram till bordet.
Good afternoon. So thank you for that wonderful introduction. Is it coming up on the screen? Is it this way? Okay. I have a habit of looking over my shoulder, and if I'm looking the wrong way, then I look like a bit of an idiot. So, yeah. So apologies, I can't see, and so I will be using this lovely lady voice, which you might be able to hear. I'm going to start with a few slides, and then we're going to go on to some video clips, which I will plug the audio output in, but I won't subject you to my lady to begin with. So yeah, that's me, Robin Christopherson. Please do follow AbilityNet on Twitter, or at USA Today. That's me on Twitter as well. And I'm going to talk about the empowering potential of technology, because technology is absolutely fantastic. Having said that, I would normally have a dog with me. People are always coming up to us saying you're gorgeous, and they're always talking about Archie. So I've left him behind today. So technology is fantastic, but there are some lower tech fantastic aids out there as well, such as Archie. Archie and my phone, with its GPS, etc., is a dynamic combination. So that's Archie. So I just want to briefly go back to the 1980s with the advent of the personal computer. So what we've got here is a very standard, probably very old-fashioned looking setup: screen, keyboard, mouse, and tower system. And with the advent of the PC, everything changed for people with disabilities in particular, and of course for everybody else as well. Now 90% of jobs in the UK, and I'm sure it's the same here, use a computer of some shape or form. And the brilliant thing about technology and the PC is that it's so flexible. There are so many options here. Each of these choices has got 10, 20, sometimes 50 or maybe more different choices. So for me, I can't see the screen, so I use speech output. I can't use a mouse, so I use keystroke alternatives, which, by the way, are incredibly efficient. I've already done the keystroke to, I don't know, run the spell checker or turn on track changes before you even half reached for the mouse, let alone moved it, clicked it, put your hands back on the keyboard. So oftentimes, the way that people use their technology, even though it's different from the norm, might be incredibly empowering. Voice recognition, for example, nobody can type at 300 words a minute. So there are so many choices, and that made a massive change for people with impairments of all kinds, because they were then able to participate by the different choices. Their own preferred way of using a computer or technology in general meant that they can then participate socially, educationally, and in this new massive digital revolution that we're undergoing. Now, if there's one message I want to give you from this afternoon that you can take away, it's that there is now no such thing as accessibility or thinking about accessibility for disabled people. Accessibility, even though the settings on a phone, for example, or on the computer might be in a section called accessibility, now in this mobile-first world, accessibility doesn't exist as being this special thing for disabled people, because when you're out and about in extreme environments, everybody is temporarily disabled. In the States, the disabled community have a phrase for the able-bodied community. They call them TABs, which stands for temporarily able-bodied, which means that disability will get you all in the end, which is kind of true. You know, it's an aging population. We get impairments, or as we get older, or maybe you're temporarily impaired because you break your wrist playing tennis or falling down or whatever it might be. Or perhaps just because you're using a smaller screen on a bright sunny day like we've got here, you are temporarily visually impaired. If the colors, the contrast isn't sufficient, if the person that's created that app, for example, hasn't thought about color contrast, hasn't thought about a decent default font size, you're going to struggle, even though you've got 20/20 vision. So in this age of extreme computing, now accessibility, or let's call it inclusive design, because then that's turning it round through 180 degrees, and it's saying it's inclusive, it's for everybody, it's not this bolt-on thing that's for the poor disabled people, then it will inform everything you do. And it's not bolt-on, so you don't drop it off when things start to get a bit tight.
En bild på en kvinna som kisar mot
Small
sin
screen, bright
telefon.
sunny day, exactly like somebody who needs to have good color contrast and a decent default font size, however big their screen is, because they've got a vision impairment, say.
En ny bild är
Here we've got somebody
one-handed
who's using their
juggle.
phone one-handed because they've got a cup of coffee in the other hand. This person is temporarily motor or dexterity impaired. They're just tapping it with their thumb, for example. It's not very dexterous. They could easily tap the wrong thing if things are too close together or if tappable areas are too small. So this person temporarily has exactly the same needs of somebody who has Parkinson's or whatever, dexterity permanent condition they might have. He's also got a cup of coffee in his hand, so maybe he's on his coffee break. Maybe he's also time constrained. Maybe he has 90 seconds free time after he's bought his coffee and while he's going to the next meeting or something to be able to undertake a transaction on his phone. So if he's able to use his phone, the website that he's on, the app that he's using, very, very easily, because it has extreme usability, he's able to do that thing that he needs to do in 90 seconds. If he's not able to do it in that time, he might forget about that site, you might lose that custom, he might not be able to do that digital service because it wasn't extremely usable. And for somebody with a learning difficulty, perhaps dyslexia, who has all the time in the world, if they don't have that extreme usability as well, then they're not able to do it at all either, unassisted. So the parallels go on and on.
Robin är väldigt animerad när han talar.
I wanted to find a picture of somebody with big sausage fingers. Like imagine this I couldn't find one. So imagine this person's got big mutant fingers, okay?
En bild på händer
If
med en
you've got big
telefon.
sausage fingers, we don't all have massive phablet phones. Some people have small phones, and if you've got big fingers, once again, you are motor impaired in effect or dexterity impaired. If it's not easy for you to use, then it's not going to be easy for someone with a motor difficulty to use at all.
En bild på någon som
So I've
håller
got
en
this
telefon
picture
i
of
en
a
bil.
blank screen on your car dashboard. Your phone is mounted there. And the message here is that to all intents and purposes, when you're driving along, you can't interact with your phone in any useful way. And so you're in exactly the same position as somebody who can't interact with their phone, perhaps visually, or perhaps with your fingers, because you can't when you're driving along. So then you get apps like Waze, for example, the transport app of people, the GPS app Waze. So with Waze, it speaks out to you like other GPS, like other sat-navs do. So that gets around that problem of always having to look at the screen. And it uses the camera, and you can wave in front of the camera if you see something like traffic police or a road accident or even roadkill, for example. You can wave and it'll come up on the screen with a menu, and you can say which one it is you want to report, and that adds it to the public database of information. So they've got round different ways, excuse the pun, of how to interact with a device in a situation where you're very limited in how you can do that. And that exact same set of restrictions is the case for someone like myself, perhaps, who can't see. I need speech output, so it needs to be speech friendly. It needs to have other ways of accessing it. So I do a daily podcast called Dot to Dot on the Echo. Is the Echo available here yet?
Dot to Dot daily podcast står det
Do people know what I'm talking about? The Amazon Echo? Oh, yeah. I would hesitate to use the word Alexa because I can't use it at home at all, because then she'll listen and she'll, say, okay. So Amazon Alexa, this is the Dot version, the small one. So I do a daily podcast all about, and I'm up to 139 or something at the moment. There's no time in the future that I'm going to stop being able to have material to tell people about what you can do with your Echo. There's thousands of skills, there's thousands of bits of functionality that you can use it for. And this is the next step on from what we were looking at a moment ago. This is called ambient computing. That's the new sort of way that people are referring to this sort of hands-off, hands-free, eyes-free interaction with technology, ambient. So you can just talk to the room, talk to the air, and she'll interact back with you. If you can't hear, then you can have it coming up on cards on your Alexa app, for example. Why not have a camera built into it? There are cameras built into some versions of the Echo and the new virtual assistants that are coming out. Why can't that camera access, where's the lady? Sign language, for example.
Han ser sig om. Han höjer sin hand, vinkar.
Why shouldn't you be able to sign to Alexa and input that way? This is ambient computing. This is where the future is going.
Han trycker på sin dator.
Okay.
Lite olika saker kommer upp på skärmen bakom honom.
Back in the 80s when the PC came along, everything changed. But arguably, 10 years ago, with the advent of the smartphone, things changed for even more radically. So I'll just plug this in.
Massa appar.
Let's see if this
Han
works.
sätter i en kontakt i sin dator.
VLC Media.
Han trycker på
Does that come up all right?
någonting,
mute it.
öppnar Word.
Okay, it's got nice music. This is the music.
Någon trycker på en telefon. En kvinna håller upp
I'm
en...
going to mute it, sorry, so that I can talk over it. So what we've got here is an app on your smartphone. It used to be called Word Lens. It's now built into Google Translate. If you tap on the camera, obviously that's a free app. If you tap on the camera icon in Google Translate, this is what you can use it for. Just point it to anything and it will translate from one specified language into the other.
Någon
Is Swedish
filmar
supported?
en kvinna som håller upp olika
Yeah, you
skärmar
can't
med
nod.
text på.
You have to talk. You don't know? Oh, okay. Try it out. If Google Translate's in the App Store, Android and iOS, download it and tap on the camera button, and this is what you should get. So this is using the lens, the camera, and the amazing thing about the smartphone, it's got all the power of a PC with you wherever you are, plus loads of sensors as well, camera, GPS, accelerometer, etc. And all of those can be leveraged to help people with disabilities. So I mentioned before how I use the GPS while I'm out with Archie to get around. And that's incredibly powerful. And something like this, using the camera and the smarts within the phone and the learning, machine learning of Google to be able to instantly translate things. And the special thing about this, as you probably appreciate, is that it's trying to retain the look and feel of the original document, whether it's a poster or a menu in a restaurant, etc. So this is incredibly empowering compared to what the sort of more conventional alternatives are for people of, pocket phrase books, ways of translating more manually by typing things in, etc. And that can be cumbersome for you guys and often a complete barrier for people with a disability.
Den korta videon var alltså
Points to
Word
Dylan.
Lens.
3A blind date with an iPhone.
This is my lady. She sounds nice, doesn't she?
Ljudet
So-
kommer från datorn.
After this presentation, I'm going to tweet links to everything that I'm going to show, and that's so that you guys don't have to worry about where you can find them. But it's also because I'm not going to show all of these clips because of time reasons, particularly with this one, because it gets a bit saucy later on, a bit rude. So I'll just show the first bit of this one. So
Skrattar.
this is, again, it's an illustration of how there is a blurring between inclusive design and accessibility. What is a special piece of software or device these days? Everything has become inclusive. And in this case, this is somebody who's temporarily impaired because they've lost their voice. And so they're using a specialist app that's aimed at people with a permanent communication difficulty. And she's out on a blind date, and she's using it instead of her own voice to communicate with her date. So let's just watch the first bit. I'll just skip over the titles.
En video kommer upp, en kvinna sitter vid ett
Hey,
restaurangbord i en
I'm sorry I
trädgård.
was late.
En man kommer fram och försöker krama henne, men hon räcker fram sin hand. De high-fivar.
Okay.
Han rynkar på
I'm sorry
näsan
I'm
och
late.
sätter sig
That
ner.
parking was crazy. I haven't been here before, but
That's okay. It's nice to finally meet you.
it's good to meet you. That came out of your iPhone.
Yeah, I have laryngitis. So I will be communicating through my new iVoice application. I programmed all of my responses for the night.
Kvinnan ler.
Okay, you
Han
mean you're
tittar
writing
lite
it
på
down
hennes
somehow
iPhone.
and it's reading it back to me.
No, all my responses are pre-programmed for tonight.
So you know everything I'm going to say tonight?
Well, I know how I'm going to respond to everything you are going to say tonight.
Hon lyfter på
Okay,
ögonbrynet.
then what's my favorite color?
I don't know what your favorite color is, silly.
But you knew I was going to say, what's my favorite color?
I knew I was going to respond. I don't know what your favorite color is, silly.
Well, it's blue, in
skrattar.
case you were wondering.
Oh, my brother's favorite color is blue too.
Okay, hold on. If you knew your brother's favorite color was blue too, then you would know my favorite color is blue when I asked you what's my favorite color moments ago. Because I'm the two. I'm the two in that.
I'm going to stop it there. You have to watch that one. I'll tweet it afterwards.
Points digital. 4 Pepsi's unbelievable bus.
This is a real bus shelter, and you might be thinking, why on earth is he going to show this? So this is a bus shelter in London, and obviously it has some quite amazing augmented reality embedded in it, in this case for purely frivolous purposes, but it could be to convey information or useful. You know, you look through the windows of the bus shelter and it gives you big arrows to exactly where you need to go in the local vicinity, that sort of thing. But just watch this, and afterwards I'll explain why I'm showing you this.
En video med en busshållplats, bilar kör förbi en röd buss. Någon fixar en kamera som de sätter upp inuti busshållplatsen. Inuti bussturen. Vi ser människor som går förbi, tidtabeller flyttar förbi. En röd buss nummer 56 kör förbi i London. En bomb kommer ner. Någonting som gör ett hål, ett artificiellt hål i bussturen. En artificiell stor tentakel från en bläckfisk kommer upp i marken. En man skrattar. Människorna runt omkring ser förbryllade ut när artificiella ballonger flyger upp i luften. En man som håller i ballongerna och flyger iväg med dem. En man försöker förklara för någon som går förbi vad som precis hände. En kvinna filmar. En artificiell tiger springer förbi. Människor springer därifrån, men de ser glada ut. De förstår att det inte är på riktigt, men de förstår inte exakt vad som händer. Allting händer på en skärm i bussturen. Men det ser ut som att det är verkligt.
I'm telling you, this is how it works, man. There's a little camera right here.
I'm going to stop it there. So, why on earth did I show you that? Well, hopefully we're all on the same page now that accessibility should no longer be a thing. And certainly if it is, it shouldn't be just for disabled people. It's now for everybody, every day. But we're way beyond Web 1.0, where web pages were just static information. You know, we're into Web 2.0, some people say Web 3.0. You guys are going to be involved in projects that are absolutely amazing. And they're not just going to be, you know, static web pages. Digital marketing, so many different things. Maybe next year or the year after, when we come to a conference like this, there will be windows everywhere that will be conveying this sort of information, giving you big arrows to point you where to go, telling you what the agenda is, you know, in clear sheets of glass, etc. Every project that you're involved in, you really need to think about inclusive design right from square one. And it's not going to be easy. There will be a challenge involved with it. If it was easy, it would have been done by now. People would have taken that effort. But now you absolutely can't ignore it, and it's something you need to think about. So really, I mean, that's why AbilityNet exists, for organizations to come and discuss what their challenges are and how to overcome them and how to make them as inclusive as possible. So I'm not going to say what my thoughts are on how you can make a project like that totally inclusive. There are several things that come to mind. But when it comes to your projects, you really just need to be on that page and thinking about how to do things in an inclusive way, because then it will be better for everybody. I'm just going to finish off with a quick audience participation. You all have seen these.
VLC Media.
You've seen these? These capture distorted images. Now, this is quite old hat. They are going away, thankfully. But what this is an illustration. It's an example.
Vi ser faktiskt ingenting.
Oh, sorry.
Points Digital Inclusion and Accessibility Conference dash when text to speech software.
Maybe I stopped it even too soon. Does it come up now? Oh,
Ingenting
okay.
kommer upp på
Just the
skärmen.
sound. Interesting.
When text to speech software.
Okay. Is it just a black screen then? Okay, sorry. Well, that's fine. You're in the same position as me. That's absolutely fine. In fact, I don't know why it hasn't come up. It's purely cosmetic, because you know what a capture looks like with distorted numbers and letters. Well, there was an example. Don't know where it's gone. But that isn't what you're going to hear. That would be far too easy. What you're going to hear is what you hear when you click on the wheelchair symbol, which is a very strange choice of symbol. But anyway, it's for people like myself who can't see the visual capture. But I don't know if you've ever seen that wheelchair symbol next to it. This is what I get, and this is what I'd like you guys to try and interpret, okay? Because this is what you have to deal with to be able to complete a transaction. And they don't add captures to unimportant forms. They add them to very important forms. So you might be having gone through 5 screens worth of forms to sign up for a digital service or purchase something. And you need to then use this audio capture. But as I said at the beginning, this isn't about audio capture. This is just an illustration of what uninclusive or inaccessible feels like for someone who actually needs and relies on accessibility or inclusive design every day. So if you've got a pen and paper, this is participation here. And if you haven't got a pen and paper, I'd really appreciate just opening up your phone and going to a notes app or the body of an email or something. And I want you to absolutely try your hardest to listen to this code and write it down accurately, bearing in mind that if you get one letter wrong, it's no cigar, as they say. You won't submit that form. It won't let you. It will repeat it twice, so you get 2 goes. What we'll do afterwards is everyone can compare it to the person sitting next to them, and we'll see if anybody has the same as the person. It might not be right, but should we try it? You ready? Here we go.
9, 2, 3, 7, 9, once again. 9, 2, 3, 7, 9,
Nu kommer bilden upp där det står type the characters using picture below. Det är röda bokstäver.
Well, 10 seconds. Just compare, please, with your neighbors.
Robin väntar lite grann, man ser förväntas full ut.
Points digital.
Han trycker på sin
Seven
dator.
element.
Vi har också till vänster om honom en kvinna som dövtolkar allt det här i röd
Slide 1
kjol
of
och
AbilityNet.
svart tröja med genomskinliga armar. Vi har också en stor vas med lila blommor till vänster av henne.
Okay. So how many people have we got in the room? 180 people. I can't see, but I can say with all confidence, put up your hands if you got the same as your neighbor. No hands. Yep. So you don't need to be able to see to make massive predictions like that. So, there was a little bit of laughing there. Absolutely. If you weren't laughing, you'd be crying about this sort of thing, because this stuff matters. We've been talking earlier about the empowering potential of technology. In the UK, still 73% of people with a vision impairment, for example, are out of work. And that's because the awareness is so poor. Employers need to know about this stuff. They need to know that the right technology can level the playing field. And then they have systems, internal or websites, that have something similar to this. Maybe it's not capture, maybe it's inaccessible forms, maybe it's not keyboard accessible applications, whatever it might be. You guys, I'm sure, can name 20 different examples. But this is just to make it real for you guys, just in case there's anyone in this room that hasn't got some accessibility requirements and doesn't know firsthand about this sort of thing. So hopefully that's kind of made it feel a little bit real. So I'll just finish off. This is who AbilityNet are. These are the sort of things that we do. Please do follow us on Twitter. I will tweet straight away afterwards that blind date link, don't worry. I'll just finish off on a personal note. So I mentioned right at the beginning, technology came along in the 80s, and it was a really good time. It was just the right time for me to do my education. I had a talking laptop. It was the size of a small suitcase, but I lugged it around. I was able, very, very luckily, to get a job with AbilityNet. I've worked there for over 20 years now, and they not only accepted me with my disability, they actually valued it. They saw the benefit of it. And a diverse workforce is a very, very powerful thing. And because I work for AbilityNet, I moved to where their offices were in Warwick, very nice part of England, nice castle, come and see it. And because I moved there, I was very lucky to meet Judith, and I've got 2 gorgeous children now. So I owe everything to the technology. Thank you.
Tårar rinner ner längs hans kinder. Han snittar eller nedbringar ansiktet. Han är väldigt röd. En kvinna kommer upp med barnen i handen.